Ever since the reveal of the current work-in-progress camera changes and its catastrophic backlash, that a new subject has risen from its massive debacle. With a rampant wave of criticism that formed from this unforeseen upcoming update, many people have been taking a step back and observed this new phenomenon unfold, making the final conclusion that this incident, regardless if it is justified or not, displayed the extremely toxic side of the Isle's fanbase. Everyone that is part of this community is very much aware of how vicious people within it can be sometimes, either in-game or in social media. But to many, this also seems to be the first time they experience that this intensely, with some questioning the origin of said behavior and if there is even a solution for it. So I thought it would be interesting to discuss this specific topic today. But first, a small disclaimer before we begin. No matter the cause, no matter the justification one might have for their discontentment, it is never an excuse to display verbal aggression towards anybody, developers or not. We can be angry at something, and in this situation we should be angry, but displaying that anger to anybody unfiltered is unethical, doesn't take you anywhere, and it only invalidates your point. Harassment of any kind should never be allowed or supported, regardless of how pissed you are. For the best result, clear and healthy communication is paramount. It lets us express our point of view better, and people on the other side are more open into listening to us that way. And even if that doesn't work, vote with your actions, not your words. Alright, with that out of the way, let's begin. The Isle is notorious for its toxicity. Out of all dino survival games, it is by far the worst and for a very long time. And that makes people wonder, why is this the case? What caused the community to be like this? And what is the difference that made the island specifically this bad? There is no singular reason that represents the catalyst of this communal behavior. In truth, this is the culmination of numerous aspects that in conjunction are responsible for the Isle players being this toxic. Not everyone, of course, but you get the idea. I am now going to identify every single one of them, explain the connections between each other, and present possible solutions to, at least, tone things down a bit. One major contributor is the genre itself. Survival games at their core are all about offering the freedom to players to do what they want at any time, anywhere. These titles are essentially a playground where people have the tools to explore, experience, and enjoy the games in an unrestricted manner. This inherently makes their communities a lot more toxic in comparison to other genres, because, surprise surprise, people are assholes. Having all this unrestrained access to mechanics and features can very easily create massive levels of power discrepancy between players, and since pretty much all survival titles are PvP in one way or another, this allows them to directly and heavily impact someone else's gameplay. Focusing on dino survivals now, an adult dinosaur is infinitely more powerful than a juvenile, let alone a hatchling. This extreme power dynamic takes away any risk from the adult side, and thus the juvie is at their complete and total mercy. No matter the former's decision, the baby literally can't do anything about it. And people know that, hence why you see adults killing babies randomly for absolutely no reason in all three games, because there's no risk for them. If a game allows this to happen, it will happen, and some will use that freedom to maliciously affect others. Simply as that. This part exists in all survival games, keep that in mind. Not just in the Isle and not just in dino survival. But this subgenre specifically has another component that makes it special in that department. Their gameplay is heavily limited. Even within survival as a whole, many titles have numerous activities and systems that don't directly involve other people or don't require others to function. Some have built-in mechanics, others have unique PvE elements, cooperative events, and so on. Those isolated features consistently reduce the quantity and intensity of PvP encounters. Dino games, though, don't have that. These titles in particular are all about growing, reproducing, and surviving. Two of those aspects are not only completely dependent on other players, they require competitive interaction between them. Or in other words, everything people can do is fight other people. The reproduction part, aka nesting, is indeed the only actual activity that is in fact cooperative, not competitive. But unfortunately we know what happened with that one. Activity scarcity is a massive issue on multiple levels. It worsens the overall gameplay experience since there's so little people can do inside them, and when it comes to people's behavior, it directly causes more toxicity due to competitive interaction being so prevalent. With fighting being practically the only real activity we can do in the Isle, only enhances and intensifies the toxic influence survival games inherently have. But yet, there is a third and possibly even more impactful source as the reason behind the community's actions. Even when taking the other 2 points into account, it is still possible to diminish their effects over the fanbase. Think about it like this. Why is Path so much less toxic than the Isle despite them being very similar games in the grand scheme of things? POT certainly isn't devoid of this kind of atmosphere, don't get me wrong, but it is no way near as intense as its competitor. So what exactly is causing that change? Communities, more often than not, can actually be quite malleable. We cannot forget that these are people, and people form hierarchies, with the ones at the top being the most influential and possessing the higher amount of responsibility. Server admins, community server owners, and content creators are part of said hierarchy. Their attitudes, actions, and decisions have an impact in the community depending on who we are talking about. And at the very, very top lies the developers. There is no other role that affects the fanbase more than the people that make the game in the first place. They are the ones that build everything we enjoy, and anything they do or say matters, for better or for worse. Every sentence they speak or write has massive weight, and people will put immense value on their words, and thus they must be very, very cautious whenever they communicate with the community. And that is exactly the problem. The Isle developers, afterthought, are amongst the most toxic devs in the gaming industry. They gaslight their own community, they harass other members, including content creators, they reject any criticism unless it is so major that they have to react to it, they communicate in a very demeaning and condescending manner on a constant basis, they mock other game developers, they even defend pedophiles and attack their own community whenever they bring it to light. I didn't forget that one, among many other things. How are people surprised that Isle fans are a complete toxic waste if the developers themselves, the people with the highest level of responsibility and being essentially a role model for their fanbase, are sometimes even worse than their own community? Afterthought not only allows toxicity to thrive, it even contributes to it. With such a massive influence as this directly promoting this atmosphere, no matter what game or what genre we are talking about, fans in this environment will always eventually become toxic. Not all of them, but you get the idea. Is that upsetting? Absolutely. Is it fair? Absolutely not. That's why, if we want to turn things around and make the Isle a cleaner place, we need to take the initiative. We cannot count on who we should because they themselves are part of the problem. So to solve it, we must take it into our own hands and be better. We need to fight against the current and succeed, otherwise nothing will change. So I, as a very small content creator who really likes to bitch about the aisle 24/7, I ask you, be that person. Together, we can free this community from all this unhealthy toxicity, but for that, we need to do it as a team. Be more respectful. Treat others the same way you would like them to treat you. Try to understand that point instead of neglecting it. Don't treat other games as competition, but as another group of people that enjoy dinosaurs. Be better. A huge thank you to my Patreon supporters for supporting the channel and the content I create. If you wanna join the ranks, you can do so for only $1 a month. The link will be in the description. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and opinions down below, join our Discord server, engage with the community, and I hope to see you all next time.